What a surprise. Congratulations to Denmark. But I'm going to talk about, of course, Canada and Czech Republic. Why these two teams, which are strong, obviously, did not advance to the semifinals. So I'd like to represent fans who don't play hockey, but also have the opinion based on what they see, which is majority. And I'd like to add some personal and fun spin. And if you disagree with me because like, oh, you never played so you don't know how hard it is, blah blah blah, we are the fans. We pay to see hockey, and then we see the hockey, and then we have the right to comment on it. I'm not saying I'm right, but you know, we have the right. I do have some stats. So we're gonna start with Team Canada. I have to say that obviously I'm a little happy because Slovakia always loses to Canada, apart from some exceptions in the past. So I have to be a little bit cheerful when Canada loses because everybody's like, you know, they just seem overconfident all the time, and it's, you know, annoying, let's say. And I don't like it. But however, congratulations on your Four Nations win. I just feel like, in my humble opinion, that Canada entered the game against Denmark in a very confident way, overconfident. And if you have, by the way, let me just go into the stats because this is ridiculous. First period, fine, 18 shots on goal, Canada against 4 shots of Denmark. Great start, yes. Second period, 12 shots, still 0-0 by the way, to 7 shots. Canada shots decrease, Denmark shots increase, but the third period is the best. And obviously everybody knows this is the reason why you lost, because the third period you had 10 shots on goal. Denmark had 22. And I know sometimes the games are you take 5 shots and you score 3 goals. Like, yeah. But Danish goalie Dicho got his revenge because he did not get a contract from Montreal Canadiens. So I guess he's like, yeah, double win for me, bitches, because you didn't sign me. I like karma, don't you? Canada is just so unforgiving because, you know, you have the draft pick Connor Bedard. Oh my god, superstar, next Sidney Crosby, blah blah blah. The poor guy had a really rough season, yeah. All of a sudden, he says no to Canada. He didn't want to come for the national team, and everybody's like, ooh, I know this is such a controversial decision, but it's not the Olympics, you know, it's not the end of the world. Of course, Crosby always says yes, but you just kind of hate it on Bedard. Just be like, oh, we have Celebrini now, you know, this is our another first overall draft pick. So now Celebrini is the star, you know, and Bedard is like, oh, this yesterday's story. You have your head in the clouds and all of a sudden you're going home after the quarterfinals. And why don't you focus on your game instead of like, who's your first draft pick overall and like all those stories like, oh, we love Bedard, oh, we hate Bedard, oh, now Celebrini is the guy. Next year is going to be somebody else and Celebrini is going to be the villain. Can you stop the circus, please? Look where it led. What is also interesting is that Canada head coach Dean Evason did not put Crosby on the last shift with the empty net. Crosby was sitting on the bench. So weird, like you have 60 seconds till the end of the game and you put Sidney Crosby on the bench. Many people were wondering what the hell was that about. It just looked like you don't want to win. Like, just look at the first period. I know you know, like the shots and everything, but also the second period, it was the decline. And the second period, to me, it was like a training camp. Oh, let me do the perfect shot. And I was like, guys, you're not skating. You're not shooting the puck. Like, what are you doing, Canada? Like, it's 0-0. And at that point, you know that Canada is going to get nervous. So obviously also when Slovakia won over Canada in history, we made them nervous, right? So you have to be responsible in the defense like Denmark was. And then you make them nervous, right? Because they're like, oh, damn, like we cannot score. And when they get nervous, they get penalties or their mental focus is shifted towards basically the toilet. So you have the chance to win. So when you have 0-0 with Canada, like this is a big deal, right? Not to mention Denmark was home. So of course they were driven by the audience as well. It's also unfortunate that Niklas Ehlers from Winnipeg Jets just arrived to Denmark playing just his second game on the tournament and he scores the first goal. I mean, he's not Canadian obviously, but he plays for Winnipeg and buries Canada. And the goalie, Dikov, who didn't get the contract from Canadians, is doing the revenge. I mean, well. Some Canadians fans obviously commented under my videos that, well, statistically, it happens to every team, you know, that they lose one day against like, you know, weak opponent. And I'm like, well, tell me you're a Canadian without telling me you're a Canadian. Of course it happens, but you had Crosby, you had McKinnon, you had O'Reilly, you had Binnington. Like you had a dream team and you lost because you did a training camp in the first two periods, not to mention the third one, obviously, because you barely shot, like 10 shots on goal. What about the finish? I mean, you win everything that you want, but I don't feel like you wanted to win. It just didn't seem like you wanted to win. Because I was like, what the hell is going on, guys? Like, but I mean, 10 shots in the third period is not enough. And maybe you should give contracts to some goalies, Canadians. Let's move on to Czech Republic. Boo! I got notes on that as well because it's super interesting. So, former champions from the last year, obviously, came strong. Pastrňák, Červenka, Nečas. You're missing Gudas. Gudas plays with heart. Everybody's scared of him. He's crazy. He has this drive. You don't have them. You also don't have Dostal. It's very hard, especially when we talk about goalies, because Vejmelka, I mean, he got this contract, 23.75 million in Utah for 5 years. The percentage is kind of average for NHL, 90%. Saves percentage is not amazing. But obviously, Vejmelka did not play the whole game against Sweden because he, to be fair, the shots that he let behind his back were not as, I mean, they were great, but also there is something that you have to make a save, you know, if you want to think about the medals. And he didn't. So it's very unfortunate. The goaltending overall is not only evaluated by Czech fans, according to the, you know, IDNES and all those online platforms. The goaltending is like the worst. Goal scoring is obviously the best. Like you're a leader in the tournament. Not to mention Pastrňák and Červenka both had the most goals, which is 6 each, and together 29 points. So leading the tournament, however, but that also indicates that your game is focused on these two players, plus maybe Nečas, you know. But honestly, you cannot, well, unless you're Jágr and Hasek, you cannot focus your game around two players. And every time you looked on screen, or if you were there, they were on the ice, you know. It was always like Pastrňák, Červenka. And you can't win gold, or you can't really play as a team if you only played the two players. This was meant not to last. So the first period, shots on goal 13, that's Sweden, 4 Czechs. In the first period, you took a shot 4 times. Come on. Second period, 13 shots again from Sweden and 9 by Czechia. Great. Obviously when Sweden had some goals ahead, 7 shots and then 13 you as Czechia. That's not enough shots if you want to advance to the semifinals, right? But I think the key element, not to mention you play 2 players, okay, but the key element, because when you look at the first game, without Nečas and Hronek, I believe, the first game against Switzerland, I mean, that was great. I was like, damn, this is Czech Republic. I remember this was amazing. And I kind of knew like you're gonna win. I was like, you have to win. But then it just kind of, I don't know what happened. I didn't like it, but obviously you won everything. But the last game, which everybody after the game, oh, if we won against USA, we would win the group. Don't cry over spilled milk. Like, that's it. Like a lot of interviews after the Sweden game were like, oh, you know, if we won over USA, we would be first and, you know, we would advance, we would win. Well, Canada also thought they're going to play for the gold. Maybe I felt like they went into this game thinking like, oh my God, we could have so much easier opponent, you know, if we won, blah, 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 blah. Shoulda, coulda, woulda. Nah, that's not a good attitude. Let me know in the comments what you thought about all those games and if you agree or disagree with me. And don't forget to subscribe because we're gonna have some conversations together about everything.